Welcome back to Epic Rides, and I'm excited to share this next route with you as we're doing something a little different today. Instead of bogs and asshole geese, we're going to head south to Zhoda, Manitoba and the Zhoda International Raceway to catch an open practice with rising motocross star Kimber Dick. I'm super excited about doing this episode because when I started riding dirt bikes back in the early 2000s, I was obsessed with dudes like James Stewart, Chad Reed, and the GOAT, Ricky Carmichael. These guys made riding look like an art form. And while I was never even a contender to race, just watching these guys was a huge inspiration for me to improve my motorcycle skills every time we went out. My roommate and I subscribed to cable channels we couldn't afford just to catch the races. It's the closest I've got to in those days for following any kind of organized sport outside of skateboarding and snowboarding. It's been a minute since those halcyon days of discovering records like Bad Religion's absolutely brilliant album Generator and Pennywise's anthemic and criminally underplayed, in my humble opinion, Unknown Road. It's been a long time since smearing my face with enough Clearasil to completely conceal a set of car keys, and my group of friends gravitated towards more fringe sports than our peers who played football, hockey, or the off-beige Ford Taurus of organized sports, baseball. Sports like motocross and supercross were a bit of an eye-opener for a guy raised on anarchy. The teamwork that goes on behind the scenes is fascinating. It's really not that different than the families who are forced by pain of death to purchase goalie pads or football, armor? And spend hours traveling to the rink or field at ungodly hours to watch little Billy crash teeth first into the boards. Teams at every level of the sport are spending absurd amounts of time, energy, and money to give their kid whatever advantage they can so they have an incrementally better chance of standing on the podium on the weekend for no more than fleeting glory and the love of racing. To this day, I love motocross as well as MotoGP and the thoroughly insane Isle of Man TT, which one day I hope to bring you guys along on a visit to. Until recently, I didn't have the first clue how one gets started racing, but my good friend Jay and his family are currently learning the ins and outs of racing an MX rider firsthand. So I thought I'd head down to Zhoda, Manitoba to watch some open practice and get some FaceTime with up-and-coming MXer Kimber Dick, Jay's daughter and natural talent on the track. This route is a fun ride and has a great mix of asphalt and gravel. Of course, if you're not comfortable on gravel, you can stick to the pavement quite easily. That said, with thousands of kilometers of gravel roads in Manitoba, I have a bit of an addiction to exploring them, and I highly recommend you going slow and giving it a try. You never know what you're going to find when the asphalt ends. Sometimes it's incredible views, and sometimes it's an impassable mud trench, but either way, it's an adventure worth taking. Today, we head south from Lac du Bonnet, down the 11 highway to the 214 through Milner Ridge. The 214 is a short 26-kilometer run south from Lac du Bonnet and connects to the 44 highway. The 214 not only acts as a bit of a shortcut between Beausejour and Lac du Bonnet, but also provides access to the Milner Ridge Correctional Facility, a minimum and medium security prison that sits at the former Canadian Forces Station Beausejour site, which was a former NORAD surveillance base. NORAD, or North American Aerospace Defense Command, a joint organization of the US and Canada that provides aerospace warning, air sovereignty, and protection for all of North America. You see, friends and neighbors, a bunch of years ago in the Soviet Union, a man named Nikita Khrushchev rose to power after an ultra-mega asshat named Joseph Stalin spent the better part of 31 years terrorizing Eastern and Central Europe. Khrushchev, despite being one of Stalin's confidants during World War II, seemed to be more interested in peaceful coexistence with capitalist countries, even leading efforts to de-Stalinize the USSR on the world stage. I mean, Khrushchev was still totally gaga for communism, but seemed to be willing to accept that not everyone was interested in a potato a day for eternity, at least at first. Then, like a 3-year-old with a live hand grenade, he accidentally blew up an American U-2 spy plane, who, to be fair, was found deep inside Soviet territory. But it didn't exactly get him on the White House Christmas list, and Eisenhower certainly wasn't signing him up for any Ham of the Month clubs. Next, in 1961, Khrushchev approved the construction of the Berlin Wall in a total jack-off move to block East Germans from fleeing crushing communism to capitalist West Germany, where music wasn't state-approved propaganda glorifying the proletariat under the Soviet regime, and citizens weren't being chased in the streets by Anna Akhmatova, dressed in all black and reciting grim meditations of the difficulties of living in the shadow of Stalinism. Finally, in October 1962, America discovered Soviet nuclear missiles stationed in Cuba, which was really the shit-flavored icing on the giant turd cake that was the Cold War, and led to a 13-day standoff between nations before Khrushchev agreed to remove the weapons. The Cold War era was a long, fraught, and messy time, but eventually everyone begrudgingly agreed to put an end to this world-killing dick measuring contest. And as we sit now in 2022, no other Russian leader has ever invaded another country or threatened anyone with nuclear war. Oh, wait. Okay, I'm going to take a sidebar from my sidebar for a minute here and make one thing perfectly clear. I don't believe that Russian people are monsters or any of that nonsense, and I firmly believe that many good people are actively questioning the sanity of the gibbering man-baby who turned out to be a Russian nesting doll for self-righteous megalomania. And I hope that the Russian people are able to remove his corrupt, murderous ass from power with extreme prejudice sooner than later, and we can find a way to all work together without stealing anybody else's land. Well, at least not steal any more of other people's land. I'm also kind of looking at you here, Canada. Anyways, NORAD was created as the first line of defense against attacking enemy bombers at the height of the Cold War. And while there have been many improvements and additions, the grounds the prisons sit on are a stark reminder that we're never far away from mutually assured destruction. So get out there and live while the living's good, my friends, because tomorrow we could all wake up sprouting a third arm out the middle of our chests. Good lord, okay, back on track here. The 214 itself is a lovely stretch of road that has a few twists and a few suicidal deer and leads us to Provincial Trunk Highway 44, where we cut west for a short distance to the town of Beausejour, and then we turn the wagon south again onto Provincial Road 302. This section of Road 302 is a decent highway with beautiful views, and for the most part good asphalt, and if you hit it on the right day, it's a nice jog down to the 15 where we cut west, and then south again onto Provincial Trunk Highway 12. The 12 between Enola and St. Anne can be a little bit dicey with a crosswind, as it's single lane with some gaping potholes and big trucks. It begins at Grand Beach and joins up with Minnesota Highway 313 at the US border. The 12 originally followed the old Dawson Trail, which was the first all-Canadian route that linked the Great Lakes with the prairies. The 12 passes through many communities in southern Manitoba. The biggest community we'll pass through on this route is Steinbach, the third largest city in Manitoba and the largest in the Eastman region. Steinbach is host to many businesses, including a bike shop, some coffee shops, and some ice cream shops. It's a great place to stop for a coffee or an ice cream cone. That is, when the temperature outside isn't still in the single digits like it is on this trip. Leaving Steinbach, the road continues through pasture land and prairie. Before long, you pass the community of Zhoda, and at Franco Road, we head due south about 3 kilometers on graded gravel to our destination for the day, Zhoda International Raceway. This is my first time being at the Raceway, and it's spectacular. The track was initially built in 2011 by Daryl Burmy, who owns the land and all of the equipment necessary to keep the track in great shape. Daryl's son DJ is a pro-level motocross racer, and the Burmy family has spent years touring throughout Canada and the US while DJ raced, taking notes on what makes a track successful and which pitfalls to avoid before even breaking ground. The track itself is self-draining, which means that even with the amount of rain and flooding Manitoba has experienced this year, the track remains in fantastic condition. There is also an underground spring on the property that allows the Burmies to water the track, keeping it in tip-top shape in the driest conditions, like we experienced last year. With a couple of races a year held at Zhoda International Raceway, there's plenty of time for open practice, and DJ Burmy, who still races, has begun coaching up-and-coming racers, including Kimber, who we're here today to see. You can find Zhoda International Raceway on Facebook, and if you're curious about the next race or watching any of the events, go give them a follow right now. In a big field before the track, row after row of huge race trailers and RVs are lined up on the grass. The sound of bikes revving in the background, compressors rumbling, and the sweetest smell on earth. Two-stroke race oil being burned, permeating the air. Seriously though, that scent is better than any incense or perfume available. If someone could figure out a way to distill that aroma and bottle it, I'd pay good money to get my hands on some. The other thing that strikes me about the track, and about the weekend in general, is the people. Little tykes in full motocross gear riding around and through the crowds, mom and dads frantically trying to keep them in view while attempting to barbecue lunch, change a tire, and pressure wash a bike all at the same time. It's a frenzy of activity everywhere I look. Weirdly, everyone is smiling, laughing, joking around with one another, all to the soundtrack of race bikes dashing around the track in the background. Not only is this group happy to be here, they're supportive of one another, despite the fact that nearly everyone in attendance is a competitor. If a racer has a mechanical issue, there's a handful of guys rushing over to help diagnose and fix the issue, even if the racer is competing directly with one of their own. I don't know if it's the inherent danger that goes hand in hand with racing motocross, or just a we're in this together attitude amongst the parents, but you don't get this kind of community in a sport like synchronized swimming, which my sister competed in, by the way. And I feel like competitors' parents were more apt to try and kneecap little Sally, or fill her goggles with Raid if it meant a better chance for their kid to win than they would help out if there was a costume blowout. To become a professional racer is a long, often dangerous, and at times frustrating pursuit. Sure, you may love riding, but it takes determination, grit, and a yard of guts to go pro. And if your family doesn't back you 100% through practice days, coaching, fitness training, fixing bikes, injuries, and everything else that goes into racing, your chances are slim to none. So when Jay announced to us last year that his daughter Kimber wanted to race, I was a little surprised. I've known Jay and his family for about 5 years, and while they are definitely a family that appreciates mudding, quads, side-by-sides, and adrenaline, often riders start as young as 5 years old, if they have any hope of being good. Like turn pro good. But Kimber was serious about it, and Jay and Marnie were willing to help give her the tools she needed to succeed. In one season, Kimber went from learning how to ride to placing 5th in the province in the women's open class. And when I tell you she's fast, I mean it. Through early growing pains on a smaller bike to graduating to her current ride, Kimber is as focused, dedicated, and stone-cold ballsy as anyone I've watched on the track. And for her, there is no downtime. When she's not in school, she's begging to get some track time in. Instead of doing the normal boneheaded 15-year-old kid things other teens do, Kimber is practicing hole shots and cornering with her coach DJ. I'm really happy to have the chance to chat with Kimber for a few minutes before her next practice. So here we are, Zhoda International Raceway. It is the first race of the season, right?
Yep.
Are you excited?
Very.
Very?
Yes.
Right on. And you raced all last season. And how did you do? What was your end result from last season?
I ended up placing 5th in Manitoba for the ladies open class.
That's freaking
overall.
awesome. Right on, congratulations.
Thank you.
So you're starting strong this year.
Yeah.
So you came in 5th in the women's open class last year. And what are your hopes for this year? Number 1?
That's a long shot.
That's a long shot.
Definitely top 5 again.
Top 5?
Yeah.
Right on. And you changed bikes last year. So what are you riding this year?
Husqvarna 250 4-stroke.
Nice. That's this one here, right?
Yes.
Right on. It's a good looking bike.
Thank you.
So there's a men's class, there's women's class. Are the women's class, do you think is it as competitive as the men's class, do you think?
It can be.
It can
be? Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Do you have any riders that you look up to in the women's class or even in the men's class that you're...
In the women's class, definitely Bailey Obronsky. She's pretty fast. And
right on.
yeah.
If you were talking to somebody your age that wanted to get involved in motocross, what would you tell them? What would the first thing would you say to them?
Just go for it, I guess.
Go for it?
Yeah.
Right on. How long have you been riding?
Since June of last year.
So you just picked up and decided to just go for it, end up 5th in women's
Yeah.
open because, well, fair enough. That's awesome. All right. So I have to ask, after a year of riding and placing 5th in women's open, which is amazing, it looks like you picked up some sponsors.
I did, yes.
Who's come on board Team Dick this year?
Computer, Cowboy Consulting Limousine, FXR, Hinson, Carden Trucking, Barkman's Cartage, NC Lindsay Designs, Extreme Outdoor Guide, Hinson, and Specialty Tires.
Okay, so we learned a little bit about racing and your sort of history in racing. What's it like having a whole family that's willing to come in and throw together a insane race trailer, and mom and dad are here every weekend with you?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to have a family that supports what you like to do.
Right on.
It's really nice.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I know
Yeah.
it's takes a lot of time and effort on everyone's part, and
Yeah.
apparently it takes a village to raise a motocross star, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So outside of motocross, do you do any other sports, or is this sort of your main jam?
Well, this is my main focus, but sometimes I do track and field, but
Okay.
my main.
This is your main thing?
Yeah.
Right on, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, track and field and like football and stuff just kind of seems a little slow
Yeah.
compared to this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Right on. And then, do you have any other hobbies? Like, what else do you do? Like, outside, if you're not allowed to, if Dad turned around and said, you can't race your bike today, what are you doing?
Ask him.
Ask
beg
him.
Beg him. That's it.
Fair enough. Awesome. Well, we are super excited to be here and watch the open practice. So thank you for letting us tag along and follow you around and make you really nervous with a bunch of cameras on you all the time. So but it's been a lot of fun. So thank you.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, Jason and Marnie Dick are dear friends. I've filmed numerous shows with Jay, who not only is a professional outfitter in Alberta during the fall, but the host of several hunting shows on multiple television networks. Jay and I have spent months in the bush together bear hunting, as well as turkey hunting at Warren's farm. If you watch episode 2, you'll meet Warren. You know what? Go do that now, actually. It's okay. I'll wait. Okay, now that you know who Warren is, Jay and Warren are also the founders of Enabled Outdoors, which is a nonprofit dedicated to taking children with disabilities and life-threatening illnesses out fishing, camping, hunting, and more. Jay has also participated in numerous mentored hunts for children and has donated countless hours to the Manitoba Wildlife Federation through his role as an instructor in their Becoming an Outdoorswoman program, as well as their Field to Fork video series. Jesus, I'm tired just thinking about it. Honestly, I don't know where Jason and Marnie find the time to do everything they do and still put maximum effort into helping their daughter's racing career, but here we are.
So let's start with you guys. You guys started racing last year.
Yep.
So what's it like being a motocross family?
A lot of work,
lot of
dedication, money, you name it.
Yeah.
The time commitment is probably the biggest thing. I mean, it's tons of time. I mean, Kimber does private training, and then we have track open practices. So it's 3 days a week on training plus weekends. Every other weekend is race weekend. So it's and it's all over Manitoba. So it's go go go.
And it's rain or shine.
Rain or shine.
Like here we are today, and it's been on and off all day. We've been at the track, and it's raining.
It's cold.
Sometimes it shines, sometimes it's cold. Well,
Yeah.
no, it's been cold all day, but like,
It's cooler now, but midsummer it gets so hot. Like you're looking in 40-degree weather, and you're just like so hot, right? But
Yeah.
it still goes on no matter what.
yeah, no matter what. Well, that's the name of the game, right?
Rain or shine.
Right on. Okay. So last year, Kimber did really, really well.
Yep.
How's she doing this year so far? And the couple of open practices she's had so far.
Well, she's had 5-6 practices this year. Last year she did really well. First year she rode 3 months and placed in the top 5 last year. And this year she, on the new bike, right? And she only got two races in, I think, with this bike last year.
Oh wow.
So this year she's been, really enthusiastic, right? She just wants to get out there, and she's been studying, other riders and like the pros, and some of the locals here. She's doing very well.
She got a coach this year, right?
Yeah, she's got DJ Burmy. She trained with him last year. She's training with him again this year. He's one of Manitoba's top riders, and they own the Zhoda track here. You've seen earlier how he rides. It's absolutely crazy.
Oh, he's unhinged. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a great rider, but he's a heck of a teacher, and that's the key. So Kimber's went from here last year. This year she's already stepped it up to here, and this is the first race. So we're expecting, quite a bit more by the end of the season. But at the end of the day, it's about having fun.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
that's what you wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't fun.
No.
Right. Well, we know she's having fun. You can see it when she's out on the track.
Yeah.
Right. But no, it's good. It seems like a very family environment here. Like everyone comes out, everyone does it.
Very, very family oriented. A place like this, if your bike is missing a bolt or it's got a flat tire, or you need a part, there's 10 people running to help you.
That's amazing.
It's not like competitive to the point where it's like, oh good, they're broken down, I don't have to worry about racing them.
Yeah.
No, you run and you help your biggest competitor, and that's what it's about. Everybody here knows everybody first name.
Right.
It's hey, how you doing? It's like your family,
I love
motocross
that, yeah.
family.
It's
Yeah,
a
I
big
love that.
family, and even too, sometimes the parents can't make it. The other parents chip in and get a bike. Someone might bring the bike, someone else has the kid, and they all make it work and throw it together just to get that kid out there.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. Next question that I couldn't remember. That one. So behind us, there's another bike there. That's Jay's bike.
Yep.
So are you guys just competing now? Is that the next step? Is the dad's gonna get in there and get after it, or what?
I'm gonna ride.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ride with my daughter. I hope I can keep up with her.
She's pretty quick, man.
She's pretty quick. I mean, I did a lot of riding back in my younger days. I'm getting older, so I know I'm not going to be the rider I used to be, but it's fun. I mean, you get together, you learn off each other, you feed off each other, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. I got insurance.
Perfect. All right. Final question is, when you're watching your daughter flying around the track, up in the air, just mud flying, everything, how's that make you feel? Like, are you nervous, excited, scared, all of the above?
Nope, just totally excited for the whole deal.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was we used to go and watch the races before Kimber got into it. And it was great to watch, but now, last year, that first start with the bikes just revving, and you could just feel the anxiety and the tension and the waiting to go, and it was just something I never felt before, and it was just amazing. I loved it. I love everything about it. I love watching her. I love the fact that she's just, like you said, progressing just so quickly, and she's just loving every minute of it. Like, it's just phenomenal. It's
that's
great.
awesome.
My one word, I think, that would describe it all is proud.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
proud of what she's accomplished. She found something that she absolutely loves.
Yeah.
You know, she was searching for something, you could tell.
Yeah.
And motocross seems to be her thing. She loves it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super proud of her. She works really hard. And it takes dedication, right?
Absolutely.
She comes home bruised and beaten up and
Sore.
can't
Yeah.
walk, gets up in the morning, goes to school, does her thing, get on the bike, gotta go to practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just always game for it. That's awesome.
Always.
Yeah.
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 Right on. Well, thank you guys so much for talking with me.
Absolutely, buddy.
Right on.
Thanks for doing
Anytime.
this.
Right on. Well, we're going to do this again soon.
Oh yeah, we will.
Unfortunately, I'm unable to stay for the whole weekend to watch the races, which take place on Sunday. But I was super happy to have the opportunity to watch Kimber during open practice. She's fast. I said it before, but after watching her pass 3 guys after several laps like they were riding big wheels, I'm duly impressed. Keep your eye out for this kid, folks. At the end of the day, Kimber wants to win. And after watching her ride, I have no doubt that she will be a star of this sport. Even if you don't know any of the racers, it's absolutely worth your time to head down to the Zhoda International Raceway for the weekend, or even for the day if that's all the time you've got. The atmosphere is awesome, everyone is friendly, the riders are fantastic, and by the end of your visit, you'll want to line up at the starting gate. Or, at the very least, leave with a new appreciation for the sport. The weather has been a real mixed bag on this trip. But even though it's rained off and on all day and the temperatures have been in the single digits, I'm excited to find some gravel to play on during the trip back to Lac de Bonnie. Leaving Zhoda on the 12, we cut north onto the 302, which is gravel all the way to La Broquerie. It's not a long stretch, but it's enough for a taste after watching riding all day. I think even you cruiser riders out there wouldn't have any trouble doing this stretch, although the last couple of kilometers to La Broquerie has some loose stone, which could get a little exciting for the less experienced riders out there. Also, if you ride something that isn't a clapped out V-Strom that you actually like the paint job on, you can, simply bypass this section by continuing up the 12. You have a couple of choices to make here as you pass Steinbach and approach the Trans-Canada Highway. You can either continue up the 12 following the same route back to Lac de Bonnie, or cut east on the 15, which is a pretty drive through Norris, St. Rita, and Lewis before heading north on the 11 at Elma. The other option is to just head east on the Trans-Canada Highway and then head north on the 11 up through Elma again. Eventually, I'll cover all of these routes, but today I leave you with a choice. Whichever direction you choose, it's a pretty drive back up to Lac de Bonnie. There you have it, folks. A great ride that could be accomplished in a day. A fun activity for the whole family and even some gravel thrown in for good measure. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please take a moment to mash the subscribe and like buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated, and I look forward to seeing you on our next epic ride. Until then, explore often and explore local.